Talk to Animals. My name is Shannon. I'm an animal intuitive and sensitive and a Reiki master practitioner here at animallovelanguages.com. He hasn't made a sound yet, which is highly unusual, but if you're watching the YouTube version, that's Pearl Cuts. Now the podcasters are with us too. He's my 23-year-old feathered soul bird and sidekick, and he never misses an episode. And here at Let's Talk to Animals, we are all about demystifying interspecies communication. Animal communication. Oh, yes, I said it. We are about de-wooing it, reconnecting ourselves to all of the other species we share this planet with, reconnecting ourselves with Mother Nature and the cosmos and all of life going on around us. We are about opening up new intuitive pathways for communication they're hardwired into all of us, but we have simply forgotten about them or maybe never been made aware of them at all. And I am going to trust that if you are still listening to Let's Talk to Animals here this morning, if you are still listening to me talk about animal communication, that you are intrigued. Maybe it's on your private bucket list. Maybe you're even wondering if it's happening to you. And if that's the case, I've got really good news for you because I've invited a wonderful guest this week, Stephanie Brown, PhD. She has a doctorate in metaphysics. She has been written up in the media as a modern day Dr. Dolittle. And I have a feeling you'll probably all remember the Robert Downey Jr., maybe you remember the Eddie Money version, maybe you read the books, maybe you just heard about them. And the truth is that is the most wonderful imagination of all. It's imagination that's real. It really does happen. It really is possible. And the best news of all is it's really possible for you. And that's exactly what Stephanie and I are going to chat about today. Now, before I forget and welcome Stephanie to our episode today, I want to welcome Stephanie's website, which is Stephanie L as in Larry, Brown, BROWN.com. Now, I'll put that in the show notes as well, but you're going to want to check out her website after you listen to her story today. And Stephanie, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Shannon, first of all, let me tell you thank you for putting the word out and recognizing that we're working together as different species to create a bridge of communication. And it's so critical as we move forward in life and society and our world. So
absolutely. Absolutely. It's, I've started saying it a lot. So those of you who listen regularly are probably going to be like, okay, I can go get my coffee during this part. But I think visiting Mars is an awesome idea. I mean, I'm as excited as the next person. Star Wars and Star Trek geek here. Totally love the idea of intergalactic travel, but I really like it here on Earth. And I really think that we can still do something with this thing. I'd like to make this a safer, happier, healthier world for all of us to enjoy together. And interspecies communication, I truly, truly believe, not only just scientifically, because there's a lot of scientific studies that are probing into this, and also for intuitive communication between human animals, but also on a deep soul level, that we don't always need the hard data. We don't always need the electrodes and the EEGs and the MRIs and all of those other gadgets that we've created to tap in and tune into the internal energetic connectivity that we've come hardwired with. It's almost an analogy of, just have you ever really hunted around in your computer's operating system in its applications folder? Well, you have one too. We all do. We didn't get a manual for our human bodies, but it's in there. And so, Stephanie, I would like to invite you, not to put you on the spot, but you are here. So I always, because we have so many folks listening who are, maybe new to animal communication, maybe new to personal experience, maybe something that's happened that's feeling a little out there and wanting to get a little more information, getting curious. And so I always invite our guests here on Let's Talk to Animals to share a little bit about how you walked into that and through that in your own life, take us back to the beginning and how you kind of woke up to the fact that it's, I know, right? We always get that look. If you're watching the video version, you see that look, right? We all have it. I love it.
Well, for me, that's kind of the challenge of it is that I had, I still have incredible parents who are extremely supportive, and I just was always talking to animals. But I know that I remember the first time where I recognized that I was speaking to animals and they were speaking back to me, but my brother did not. I was probably about 6, and we had gone back east to visit family, and we were at a cousin's farm, and I was speaking with one of the horses, and I just was openly having a conversation, and she was talking back, and I assumed that my brother could understand her, but my brother thought it was great fun. And as younger brothers are, they're always like looking to pick on the older sister. So he decided he was going to run back to the house and tell my mom. And so I managed to get back to the house, and my brother was just telling this huge, story about how I was talking to the horse, and I was convinced that the horse was talking back to me. So my mother, not skipping a beat, said, "So what's going on?" And I said, well, so and so's horse, and she has a hurt foot, and that she's very concerned because she had made a mistake when she hurt her foot, and cousin so and so fell. And my cousin did not know what to do because we had literally just arrived, and all of a sudden I'm telling the story from the horse's perspective of what actually happened. And my cousin was very, very good about this, and she just said, well, I don't know how you know that, but that is exactly what happened 3 days ago. And so for me, that was just an it was just an automatic. And my mom just said, okay, well, if you want to go down and talk to the horse again, go do that. And so that was when reality hit me of like, how come my brother doesn't do this? I
Interesting.
just thought it was so natural. And because it was so natural for me, of course, as a child, it just seemed the logical thing to go into veterinary medicine. And so that was going to be my dream, was to actually go into veterinary medicine, which I did for a period of time. I was a licensed nurse for animals for over 25 years. And that was a really, really young profession at the time, but it felt like the perfect match for me. And I saw it as a step to continue on with my education into veterinary medicine. And so I did a lot of work when I was a teenager with large animals, horses, cattle. And then as I got closer to graduating high school, I was working in a small animal practice, and then went to exotic animal practice. And so it wasn't very long after I graduated and had my license that I really recognized that for me personally, going on to vet school was not financially available. And I couldn't, I just really couldn't justify it because 3 years into being a practitioner as a registered veterinary technician, I was making more than the graduate veterinarians coming out of school were. And so, how do you balance that? And And quite frankly, a lot of people may not know this, but it is much easier to get into human medical school than it is to veterinary school. It is a much more cost effective to go into human medical school because your pay is so much higher. It Veterinarians have number two suicide rate behind dentists, and I don't I believe that it has a lot to do with the simple fact of trying to balance out doing something that you have a passion for and a love for, and you're not compensated sufficiently to really earn a decent living. So, needless to say, I loved being in practice, but what was happening for me was that with each of the practices, I learned so much because I was so hands-on with the animals. And as an animal communicator at the time, Penelope Smith, who is the grandmother
Mm-hmm.
of animal communication, was just on the edge. And it was like, for me, I was like, oh, look, there's somebody out there that is like me. And so she's a lovely lady that I got to meet later. But for me, it was a tool. It was a tool that helped me do my job better. It helped me calm animals while they were fearful because they were at the veterinarian. It helped me give animals a sense of love and support when they were in the process of dying. And animals were teaching me the whole time because I would see animals that had long term illness, cancer, kidney disease, liver disease, things like that, that you get to really have an intimate connection with these animals and you develop a real strong affiliation. And so the whole time, for my own personal understanding, I was asking animals the question of why. I was saying, why are you still doing this? Why is it that you're willing to go through this much pain for your mom or your dad? And so they became really solid teachers in that timeline. And so I I just really so value them in my life, in every aspect of my life. They soothe our souls, they inspire us, they drive us to be a better person. They give us complete support and understanding and truly unconditional love in a way that nothing else on this earth can give to us. And yet they also understand boundaries and they understand that it is important for survival. And how do we do that? And so there's just the lessons are limitless. And um, I chose to leave that field because I had gotten so far away from the hands on. I was managing multiple doctors, multiple other technicians, and all of the staff that goes with it. And I just really felt like I was too far away from where my heart was. And at that point, my husband convinced me to return to school and finish off my doctorate in metaphysics. And, here we are, close to 30 years later. And so it really has been this incredible journey. And I every day I'm so blessed because every day I wake up and I have the luxury of being able to go to work to assist people in understanding their pet or their beloved soul that they share a life path with.
That's right, because you also work. Now, you have an interesting practice. You have a soul to soul track or communication
Mhm.
option for animals and you have one for people. And I'm just going to go out on a limb for folks that are listening and they're like, what? Because I would assume that the animal track is that this is where you're talking with maybe a companion animal or a working animal and they're human. And then
Right.
the people track is where you're talking directly with the human only.
With the human, but for me, because I work with animals that are deceased, people that are deceased, and the people that are living and in body, it really is just soul to soul communication for me. It is, it's not about the body. It's not about whether we stand on four legs or two. It is from one soul to the other. And it is a practice that is definitely very unique, but as am I, because I have so much depth in both areas, that it is a very, very specialized practice. And honestly by design, because I the animal side of my practice is very, very developed, as you can imagine, due to my history and because of my passions. And my passion is where I want to allow the animal to express themselves, and the animal is the priority. And I tell my clients that up front, that my job is to provide a voice for your pet. It is not my job to give you what you want to hear. And that can be a little bit of a challenge to some people, because some people will like to reach out to an animal intuitive or a professional animal communicator, and they want that animal communicator to fix the problem, tell
Fix
them
the
not to
word
do
fix.
this,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that can be accomplished, but not accomplished in the way that the person often wants it. There has to be a bridge, a mediation process where there is negotiation on both parts. And an animal communicator in their truest form is going to be that bridge. They are going to listen to that animal, whether they speak in pictures, sensations, words, emotions, or in, what other form they may take, and then speak with the owner or the handler or the trainer, because sometimes when you're working with horses, then you're dealing with the trainer. You're not going to deal with the owner,
Yeah.
because that owner is removed. Or if you're dealing with show dogs, it's performance, high performance dogs, whether they be show dogs or they be scent tracking dogs, cadaver dogs, your police dogs, things like that. They are around us and they engage with us so often that they have a very, very developed vocabulary. And so they can be very clear about it. Where another dog that is maybe very touchy feely is more emotion, or they may share sensations in their body if they're not feeling well, or they're, where are they hurting, and how does that feel to them? What is their brain going through in that process, and what is their body going through? And so that is where I really shine and where I really work, is helping the owners understand. Now, owners will bring me in as a team member when an animal is diagnosed with cancer or has something that the veterinarians can't necessarily find what the problem is. So, owners will contact me for that, because the animal has such It is their viewpoint, it is their perspective. And when that animal can share that with me, then I can give the owners information about what to look for, or when your dog does this, then they're running into a problem and I need you to do such and such.
You've
So
just
it can be such a vital.
you've explained so brilliantly so many fundamental concepts and structures that need to be in place in terms of the humans end of the conversation, just to understand what's going on. Where does the animal communicator fit into the greater picture of a comprehensive pet wellness and health and quality of life team? And how do the sensations come in? How does intuitive communication or animal communication or interspecies communication, how does it function? Because it's the simplest explanation is often that it functions on a level where we know something and our left brain can't explain how. We receive a picture, we receive exactly what you just said. We receive a song lyric, or just a little clip from a movie, or a memory that triggers an emotion for us, or something, or just a deep gut. I get a lot of deep gut level knowings. I get a lot of symptoms, emotional and physical symptoms in my body. And, so much of what you were saying is about beginning to tune back into the rest of us, of our own organism. And those of you who are listening or watching and you're thinking, maybe before somebody shut me down early in life or told me, maybe if someone listening had a sibling who ran to their mom and the mother wasn't supportive and curious and noticing and interested, can you ask yourself, has there ever been a moment in my life, even with another human being, when I've just known something and I didn't know how I knew it, and nothing that my left brain threw at it could talk me out of what I knew? Because this is not, I absolutely adore it. And that's one of the many reasons I wanted to invite you onto Let's Talk to Animals, is you do have a very unique niche, a very unique background, a very unique level of left brain knowledge to contribute to your right brain awareness and unfolding. But we all have something to contribute, which is really what the mission and the message of this podcast is about. It's like, don't be listening to this because it's so common. Like, I'm thinking, oh, I wish I was Stephanie. And, last week I was interviewing somebody and I wished it's so easy to fall into that comparison, or thinking, well, I don't have a background in this or that, or I don't have a doctorate, or I don't have a training in veterinary. So, or look, there's so many, look at, we've got 50 episodes of Let's Talk to Animals. Surely the market is glutted. That's all left brain stuff. That's not what we're after here. We're looking for the part of you that's still listening, the part of you that's still wishful, the part of you that's still hoping, thinking maybe there's a place for me. I'm going to tell you right now, there is. You think about all the animals that are out there just in your sphere of influence. Even if Stephanie and I and every other guest on Let's Talk to Animals got together and decided we were going to talk to every animal on the planet, we need to reincarnate about 50,000 times to do it. There are animals out there that will never get the chance to speak and to be heard unless you deal yourself in. There are animals in your sphere of influence, and there are hurting humans who don't know how to help their animals, who don't even know where to start because they're not listening to this podcast. They're not studying with animal communication teachers. They're not reading the books because they're needed somewhere else. Their work is somewhere else. And so they need you to invest your time and your energy and your interests. And if that happens to be animal communication, then just understand that everything that's happened to you, every experience you have had up until this point in your life is actually going to make sense. There is a place for all of, I look back at my spotted career history. I started in a blue chip oil company and then launched my own nonprofit, and then I went to India and tried to look for myself and came back home and still wasn't sure where I was. We do these things and they don't seem to add up at the time, and later we look back and we're like, oh, okay, well, that crazy job I had really taught me to listen to body language. Okay, well, that crazy experience I had really taught me to trust my gut. That crazy experience I had taught me that maybe it's possible that we can communicate across species boundaries. And so this is why I wanted to invite Stephanie to be with us this morning, because you do get right to the heart of it. It's soul to soul, it's energy to energy. And you can't study your way to interspecies communication, but you can open back up and start noticing your eyes have eyes, your ears have ears, your nose has a nose, your mouth has a mouth, your heart has a heart. We have the overt physical sense, and then we have the subtle sense. So let's talk. Stephanie, you just went right on from there, and you got your husband also really. You also seem to have a talent for gathering around yourself relationships that are very supportive, which is another key part of this journey. And you went back and got your doctorate of metaphysics. And I would venture to bet, if I was a betting person, which I'm an adventurous person, but I think I've only gambled once, and that was at the slot machines. And it was fun for the 5 quarters it lasted. But I would venture to bet that there are a lot of folks listening to this who aren't really sure exactly what metaphysics even is and how you would study it. And so I'd love to hear a little bit more about the intersection of that and how that has infused your work, because you've got the veterinary side, and then we've got this deeply intuitive side that you bring to the table.
Right. So, like you were talking in the beginning, you were talking about merging the left brain and the right brain. And I had this obviously really, really strong intuitive side that was supported by my parents. But in addition, it there was that structure of learning. And I happened to be very, very good at math and science. And I happened to be very good at visualization. And so chemistry was kind of fun for me. And metaphysics is a very interesting field because it is all about the soul and studying how the soul engages in a physical body, whether it be a cat's body or a person's body. And the closest metaphor that I can really come up with is that all of us have our cars. And if we don't have a car, we have a bicycle. But if we use the example of a car, then when we change cars, we pick up all of our personal items and we go from one car to the next. And that next car may have a different purpose. We may have been in a small SUV, and all of a sudden we find ourselves looking for something that is smaller or larger or faster or whatever it is. It is irrelevant. But the point is that our bodies are very, very different from our soul. And when we go from one car to the next, we as the driver or we as the soul are inhabiting from one body to the next body. And that helps us when we have that understanding, when we want to transcend that a soul only has one body. It doesn't work like that. And because it doesn't work like that, then our soul pets, that joy of our life, can go from one incarnation to the next within the realm of our timeline in our physical body. So I have a number of clients that their pets want to return to them. And so then I work with that client, whether it be in the rescue or the search. If that owner really, really wants to focus in on rescuing a pet, then and that pet agrees that they want to come back in a rescued body, then we work together to find each other again. And so that's a whole nother level of animal communication. And you were talking about people that want to do this. Understand that as you were talking, it's so true. Everyone has their unique fingerprint that they can bring to this profession. And it is a profession, and it is a young profession, and we don't have standards as of yet. We're hoping to achieve that. And so, those that are listening, practice, keep notes, practice, keep notes, practice, because you may write some little thing down of it feels like the color blue, and you don't understand what that means at all. But as you go through, you may have that realization. And then when you come back and look at your notes, you're like, oh, that's what that color looks like or feels like, or what is the emotion associated with? What is the information that that soul was trying to provide for me? And the other thing that I want to share with new practitioners is the clearer you are within your life, with your emotions, with your challenges, then the cleaner the information can come to you. Because as you know yourself, then you can discern more easily what is yours and what is not yours. And second guessing what is not yours does not make it go away. It just means that if you're second guessing, it means that it's not yours, and let's put it into a separate category that we can revisit and we can ask, what is that about? So really, being a practitioner means that you have to be devoted to yourself as far as developing yourself as a soul, understanding ethics, integrity, commitment, truth, and dedication.
I I mean, at my I those of you who are watching the video, I'm just sitting here smiling and nodding and smiling and nodding and smiling and nodding. And it's a beautiful exploration of what it means to be human, to open ourselves up to communicating with plants, with animals, with insects, with bodies of water, with parcels of land, with trees, with the sky, with the moon and the stars. The moon and I have been having a love affair for years. The weather and I, it's more, I would have to file that under it's complicated, but we can have conversations. And I love how you shared negotiations, because from the animal's perspective, let's just say we're talking about a companion animal, or a service animal, or a working animal, or a commercial animal, and we're looking at a behavior or a mannerism that doesn't make sense to us. And we have to remember, it's like, it doesn't make sense to me, but that doesn't mean it doesn't make sense. And it doesn't mean it needs fixing. It needs communication. It needs getting curious. It needs wondering. It needs asking questions. It needs having a conversation to find it. Because from the animal's point of view, if that behavior or that mannerism or that personality trait didn't make sense to them, they wouldn't be doing it. And it doesn't mean that it's healthy, because we can often see animal communicators like you and me. We work with animals that are suffering from trauma or PTSD, or animals that are having medication complications, and it's changing their personality. And so we have to understand, it doesn't mean that it doesn't need to be addressed, that the animal doesn't need our help. But from the animal's point of view, they wouldn't be doing it. It wouldn't be manifesting if it didn't somehow fit in with their world and the experiences that they're having right now. So it's really about opening. I love, it's like your analogy about the soul. I mean, I wish when our bodies got old and not as functional as we would like. And things started, I'm 51, I'm going to turn 52 this year. And I'll tell you what, there are things on my body that don't feel the way that they used to. And I don't know why. And I wake up in the morning and I think that knee did not hurt yesterday. All I did last night was sit here and sleep. What changed? So our physical container, our cars, they wear out, and I wish we could just take them down to the lot and get a fat trade-in value and upgrade, but that's not how it works. So we crossed the veil, and then sometime I just had a beautiful client 2 weeks ago who found her soul dog again in the body of a 6-year-old female who is not even the same breed. But there were so many signs, and I write about it on the blog. The soul dog's name was Chief, and lots more about Chief will be coming. But Chief told her in no uncertain terms, "You want me back? Put in your order. I'm waiting for your order." I love that. I mean, animals can just get right to the point, and it blows through all of our assumptions. Like, if you've never had an experience communicating with an animal, that's the place to start. I mean, it's not like here's our little advertorial for let's talk to animals, but I mean, you have me, we're coming up to our 50th episode. You have tons, and this is a great place to practice your intuition, guys, because you do have a lot of choices, which is super cool, right? Because back in the day, Stephanie, you were hunting around, you were like, and finally Penelope popped up, and you're like, oh, thank goodness, somebody else that can shed a little bit of light on what I've been experiencing most of my life. And so sometimes when those experiences aren't mirrored and validated, we just shelve them away. Our brain says, well, you don't need to remember that. And then it'll pop up, maybe a dream that you've been a recurring dream or something, and you think, now we have lots of choices, and so we have lots of chances to practice our intuition, to find somebody with whom we resonate with their story, or something about how they express themselves, or how they teach. Or I want to study with every single communicator I interview. I'll never stop wanting to learn. That I love animals, I love people, I'm learning to love myself, which is making me a better animal communicator. But we have to trust our intuition and tune in and say, this feels right in this moment. And so this is where we start. I practice with my houseplants. I ask them to tell me when they need water, versus me watering all 30 houseplants on a schedule, which means half of them are chronically underwatered, half of them are chronically overwatered, and all of them are pissed off at me. I ask them, I say, tell me when you'd like to be watered. And, occasionally I don't get a message, but they're persistent. And so far I haven't lost any of them. So, so think about that. Stephanie, tell us, we're coming up on our closing here. I want to respect our listeners' time, and definitely yours, because you are one busy lady. But tell us a little bit more about how you work with people, and what you'd recommend for someone who's never had an experience of either booking a communication session or having an animal communicate with them. What would you recommend? Where do we start? I know it's a big question, right? But just a tidbit. Yeah.
It is a big question. So, um, the people aspect of my practice is really about life coaching. It is about, what have they come in with as a soul? What are they looking to learn? And how does that demonstrate itself through their life process? So, and that is about the metaphysics, right? It metaphysics at its base is the study of the soul, and how that soul operates in the physical body, how that soul operates in the physical reality of this time and space. So that's the human side of it. The animal side of it is a dynamic interaction between soul, body, body, soul. And so, how, what is it that that animal needs to share with their life partner in a pet parent? And what does that pet parent want to understand about that animal? Of what are they going through? What's happening with them? What has their past been? Are they a rescue? Is it that this animal has returned to this person again? That soul has returned to this person again because that animal soul is looking to share wisdom, looking to gift the pet parent some new lesson as a soul. And so my practice is very diverse and yet very, very focused because it is all about soul to soul communication.
So that sounds, if you're listening and this sounds like something you, maybe you don't have to, again, it's about kind of separating out the right brain's job and the left brain's job. If you're listening to this and something about soul to soul intrigues you or resonates with you, my first animal communication teacher, first of many, taught soul level. And that just spoke to me. And I just used my intuition. I said, okay, you're up. I'm going to learn from you. And then I've moved on, and studied. So it's not about, you're not making a decision that necessarily you're going to have to keep making every single day for the rest of your life. You're making a decision for the now because something calls out to you. Maybe you just love to experience some soul to soul life coaching for yourself. Maybe just to give yourself this gift because we are going through some challenging stuff right now. And it can be difficult as a soul, as an embodied soul, to wrap ourselves, our whole selves around everything that we're thinking and that we're feeling. Maybe you want to share time with your animal in a new way. And then that is the place that you start. As far as I can offer some free resources. If you head over to animallovelanguages.com, you can find all of our podcasts, including this one, and you can save it, bookmark it, you can share it. We love sharing. We love likes. We love 5-star reviews. We love 50-star reviews if that's available in your area. You can also find some free tools, including a 5-day free animal communication camp that can acquaint you with some of what Stephanie was talking about earlier. Are you getting a mental picture? Are you getting a smell, a taste? Are you getting a sound sensation? Are you getting a deep knowing? Are you getting a memory coming up or an emotion? There's a 4-part free intuitive pet parent workshop that you can access. Stephanie, I know you've got plenty of resources. StephanieLBrown.com. Don't forget the L. And I want to encourage you, our dear listeners and viewers, to come back to join us. We do these episodes every week with wonderful interspecies communicators and energy workers and holistic pet care practitioners all around the world. And I've got one of those little maps, and I want to talk to an animal communicator in every country, and I think that would be super cool. But we love you. You are why we are, you and your animals, you and the animals that you love, and the planet that we all share is why we're doing this. And we love to hear from you and hope that you will join us again soon and share us with those in your circle who love animals as much as you do. Stephanie, thank you again for your time, donating your time to be here today to talk about your story, which isn't always the easiest, right? Especially when you have 30 minutes and you're like, tell us everything.
Right. But
Yeah.
I want to thank you. Thank you so much for the work that you do
Of course.
and for bringing this world one step closer to being touched by everyone.
Oh, it's a dream. It's a goal. It's definitely something to work towards, and I look forward to keeping in touch with you, Stephanie, and with you, our dear viewers and listeners. And please do join us again next week for another wonderful episode of Let's Talk to Animals. And Pearl is napping on my knee again, but Pearl and I say goodbye for now. We give you our hearts and send you our love and wish you a wonderful week. Okay, bye for now.